Hello and welcome to episode 191 of the F.Reality Podcast, the number one podcast for all your VR gaming needs. We've got a jam-packed show for you today, so strap in for the long haul, as we're going to be talking about Mercenaries Mode coming to Resident Evil 4 VR, Blade and Sorcery just got mod support on Quest, Hitman 3 is coming to PC VR and adding motion controller support, we discuss our thoughts on Meta's crazy-looking haptic gloves, Rowdy gives you his top VR picks from the Steam Autumn Sale, and to round up the show, Zim's got some releases for you to look forward to coming soon. But for now, let me introduce you to the team and find out what's been their highlight of the past couple of weeks, and feel free to let us know what you've been playing in the chat so we can read out some of your highlights too. First up, he's the Belgian-Canadian crossover we never knew we needed. He did a great job as the temporary host on the last podcast. It's the one and only, it's Rowdy Guy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Excited about the show. It was quite the task last week. I had to take over. It went a little bit overtime. I know how hard it is to keep that show to it's 2 hour mark. We're still trying to push it, but it was a fun show. It's I always like doing these kind of things. But yeah, I've been great. We've had our first little bit of snow here over in Canada. I am planning on going back to Belgium soon. I don't know if it's the ideal time because everything there is back into lockdown as well. So, I do hope I get to see my parents, for the first time in almost 2 years again. So that'd be kind of nice. But no, I've been great for the rest though. Yeah, I've been really, 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 really well. And it's the Steam VR sale season, right? Yeah, so I have a multitude of highlights, actually. I just wanted to bring a few of them up because, we all know that Demeo is on sale, right? Demeo is on sale. In the Steam Autumn Sale, you can now get it for 20% off, which is kind of nice. It's still one of the better games that released in the past year, so I would definitely pick that one up. Yeah. That one. Now, I want to make one thing clear to you guys, though. These are my favorite picks. These are not per se my favorite games that I would play because, I have a very particular kind of style. I mostly play Pavlov.
This worries me now. This worries me now what kind of content you're going to be sharing here.
Yeah, I want to know.
Because we all know what Steam looks like at the moment in terms of the VR category, but go on, carry on.
Okay. Well, these are just games that I think that, if you haven't bought them yet, you should really buy them now. And also, I always think you need to get the most bang for your buck. Right, so I wanted to get those that have a minimum of 45% off or more. Those are the ones that I would pick up during the summer sale, during the autumn sale.
Not runtime, but more how much of the discount?
Yes, how much value you get for your money.
Okay.
I think. Some for example, Skyrim, great game, a lot of value. It's a good discount, but the game is old. Everyone has played it.
Wow.
You played it on iOS. You played it on.
I literally saw Zim's heart break as you said that just now.
I'm gonna kill him. So I am gonna kill him.
I'm trying to prepare you there. I'm not going to list Skyrim. However, I am listing on number 5, No Man's Sky, which in my opinion is still, I think, the best VR ported game that you can pick up. Currently 50% off. 50% off. So down from $59.99 all the way to $29.99. I think that's a steal considering the amount of content that is in that game. I think that game is just I've played a lot of it and I still actually haven't played enough of it. And the way that they've ported that game into VR is, in my opinion, the best port that we've seen of a big game. I find it better than Skyrim. Sorry.
It's fair. Yeah, I agree.
He's absolutely wrong, but it's okay. He's allowed to be wrong. No Man's Sky is good, man. Yeah,
No Man's Sky is great.
It's so expansive is the main thing. It's just you can, if you're going for value, you get a lot of hours out of that, and they're still putting massive patches every quarter out. It's crazy. Yeah. Good pick.
So on number 4, I have a game that I've bought at full price. I believe that was back then at $59.99. Also a VR game, and it's Star Wars Squadrons. It's currently at $14.79.
Wow.
Good.
So that's down 63% from the price that last listed was $39.99. And there's, it's not my personal favorite VR game, but for $15 or less than $15, it's kind of a steal. There's so much. There's single player content. There's great multiplayer content. Visuals are great. Integration with VR is great if you have a HOTAS or something like that. It's a great game.
Exactly. That's exactly.
You get to live out your dream, every kid's dream of sitting in your own X-Wing. Like, enough said.
I was
Great,
really
great,
impressed
great
with the
choice.
fact that it's so canon. You just are dropped into the Star Wars universe in such a wonderful way, and it's not like they overblew it or anything. The real sad thing for me is I paid full price for that, and I might have played like 4 or 5 campaign missions, and then I just moved on, and I need to go back to that. So thank you for the reminder there, Rowdy.
Yeah. And then the third one is, I mean, this is definitely going to be a little bit controversial because there's going to be a lot of people who don't like this. You either love this or you hate this. It's Trover Saves the Universe.
I love that game.
Yeah,
I love that game as well. It's short, and the original price of it, I think, was far too high. But it's currently 65% down, coming from $29.99. So it's now $10.49.
Well worth it for that.
For that price, it's. I mean, you need to like that kind of humor. If you don't like that kind of humor, you don't like Rick and Morty, or like, you're that one person who doesn't like that, so be it.
If you like Justin Roiland, you'll love this game. Like, it's
exactly.
pure.
If you don't mind
Roiland.
people constantly dropping F-bombs and kind of toilet humor at you, then this kind of game is for you. If you're worried about that stuff, don't buy this game.
Yeah, don't.
Great choices so far.
Yeah, they're good choices.
Yeah, we come in our top 2, so number 2 and 1. And this was for me a little bit of a harder pick, but I mean, I'm going to say number 1 first because it makes the most sense. The problem is they put this on a discount, but I think every person with a VR headset has played this game. It's number 1 is Half-Life Alyx. 50% off the original listed price, $59.99. So it's now available for less than $30, $29.99. I mean, I can't imagine someone who has a VR headset. I mean, maybe someone who's new and has been waiting for a Black Friday sale or a then maybe you pick this up. But I think that most people who have a VR headset already have this one. But yeah, if you don't, it's the moment to pick it up. It's $29.99. It's probably the best VR game ever made.
That's definitely.
Although number 2 comes at a close second, I think. Any guesses what it would be?
Pavlov?
Number 1?
Nope. It's not my personal picks.
Yeah, okay. On discounts. Well, no idea.
Boneworks?
It's no, because I just don't particularly like the game. On number 2, it's The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners.
Great game. Yeah, great.
What's the price?
45% down from $39.99 now to $21.99.
Oh,
so $22.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome picks there. Awesome picks.
Yeah.
The chat are pretty happy with that as well. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice.
These are the ones, if I hadn't played them yet, or I didn't have them yet, then those are the ones that I would probably pick up.
Yeah, those are good. But then I'm going to tack mine on there because we're going to anyway. For £13, you can get Skyrim VR. My God.
You had to.
I had to. Yeah. You don't get that price on Bethesda games often. So.
I'll let that slide this time. Okay, thank you very much for that, Rowdy. Very much appreciated. Although I'm sure people's wallets won't appreciate it, but we appreciate it anyway. So next up, apparently this guy's been making VR devs cry since 1999. And I'm not sure if they're happy tears or sad tears. Maybe he can let us know. It's the legendary VR streamer, ZimTalk5. How you doing?
I'll take off a tiny top hat. Oh, why, thank you, Mike. It's been a whole month since I last answered that question for you.
Yeah.
How was your time away, by the way? Was it good?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I had a lovely time away. So yeah, if you missed the last show, I was away with my family on holiday. We didn't travel far, but we traveled to the coast. Lots of dog walks, unplugged. So I unplugged so much in fact, that it was difficult to replug again when I came home. But that's what all great holidays are about, right? So yeah, had a great time. Thank you. But how are you?
Yeah,
what's your highlight?
No, I've had a very good, actually, as a streamer in the last kind of last 2 months, I'd say I've spent a lot of time kind of redoing my audio setup. So I'm now on a silly, expensive lav mic and redoing all my cameras. So a lot of behind the scenes rigging work. Included in that is a binaural microphone around the back that I picked up from Zoom, which has been super fun to play with. Done all kinds of different silly projects with it. It's really kind of a niche thing, but when you find what it's really good at, for example, putting it in a room of 6 people, you'll be able to distinguish all of those voices independently and hear them all back. So look out for more fun binaural projects from us. And in addition to that, my highlight of the week is getting back into a game that at the very start of this year, I think I called it my game of the year at the very beginning, which is Gorilla Tag. So Gorilla Tag.
Wait.
Was that last year?
No. You said your game of the year was Medal of Honor.
Yes.
No, that was last year.
Exactly.
That was
okay,
last
I'll let you off. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, that was 2020.
Again?
So
3 strikes and you're out. No.
Yeah, that was absolutely my game of the year last year, and I can stand by that. By the way,
okay.
I actually think the Quest build holds up, but no, this year my game of the year has definitely mutated as it's gone through the tracks. I haven't really decided what deserves it for 2021, but that's probably for the next podcast or the one after that. But definitely at the very beginning, I was super impressed with Gorilla Tag, just because a few things, like design things. Firstly, it's an indie. Secondly, it was done by kind of single person. I don't know if it's expanded to more people. I'd imagine so with the popularity now. But what I really like about it is they've architected a storefront in the game, so you can kind of give back if you want to, or they're in the process of doing so. But they have a mechanism where you gain rocks. So you'll know most mobile games, if you log into them every day, you'll get a certain amount of in-game currency, right? But the cosmetics that they initially launched for Gorilla Tag was like 5 items. You could buy a little pack in the Steam store. Wasn't available on Quest. You could pay, I don't know, as a $5 or something, and you'd get a couple of hats for your monkey. So Gorilla Tag, for those who don't know about it, it's like a playground simulator. It's like you were back playing tag, in the playground. And there's a few different levels. But they've added a city level, which is like you go to a mall, and there's it's a 3-tier shop. You can go and buy cosmetics for like Christmas, for Halloween, and all this kind of stuff. You buy a little bow tie, a little pin with an ape on it, all kinds of funky eyewear. If you put on the pirate eye patch, it blanks out that side of your VR vision.
Oh,
you can buy the other
genius.
one. You can also buy one where you blank both sides and you're a blind monkey. It's freaking nuts, like the things that you can get. But the reason I really like it is the way they developed it is if you are playing Gorilla Tag a lot, which is, it's a game that a lot of people pick up because it's free and they would be playing it. This is like a way for, money to go back to the dev, and I think that's really important. But when I logged in, there were 7,000 concurrent players. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like all their systems about how you can like stand together near the Gorilla computer, push a button, and it will take your whole group and join you to a lobby of your choosing. So that I love. I love the way that you branch out from this monkey hut. I love the way that when you start in the game, there's no instructions whatsoever. You have to just kind of work it out. They drop you in and you immediately join a multiplayer session. So for all of those reasons kind of wrapped up into a package, it's the biggest indie success story this year by far. And coming from a single mind or whatever, I just have to say, Lemming, you did an incredible job with that. It's just amazing. And check out the store. Those cosmetics are really fun. I think they're really tasteful. And eventually, they're still working on this part. If you want to skip the login every day to collect 100 rocks, and cosmetics cost you between 1,000 and like 3,500 rocks. So whatever. So you have to log in a few times to kind of get a hat or whatever you want for your monkey. But if you want to skip that in the future, you'll be able to pay for it, which honestly, I would probably do willingly, even though I don't normally like those kind of microtransactions. Like when I get a game like that, I want to get back to the dev. So just thought I'd give that a spotlight because Gorilla Tag is great fun. Also, I'm going to be running a 10-player Gorilla Tag match tomorrow publicly. So if anyone wants to check it out, you can come watch. So
awesome suggestion. It's free on Quest, on App Lab, and on Steam for free as well. So another great shout out to Lemming VR, the creator of Gorilla Tag there. Great to see you all again. It's great to be back on the show again. Because we do them every 2 weeks now. It's been a month, so I haven't had my F.Reality fix. But as you probably can guess, Nathy's not joining us today as he's celebrating his birthday. It must be amazing turning 16. It must be amazing. That feeling.
Sweet 16
of being old enough to go out and buy cigarettes and stuff.
I gotta say something. I am sorry, Nathy. Okay, I'm gonna say sorry before this, but I thought of this joke and I just gotta say it. So, lads, what are the similarities between Nathy and Michael Jackson?
Oh God, go on.
No, when they're looking for a good time, both of them go off to Wonderland.
That's true. He loves theme parks.
That's
where he is
is
right now.
Yeah.
He loves Disney. He loves theme parks. He's at the Efteling which has got like a VR experience, which she's spoken about in a previous episode of the show. But yeah, it's great that he's not here because we can roast him and there's nothing he can do about it. Also, if you can correctly guess his age in the chat, I've got a little thing here for you. So
I can't even correctly guess his age. I have no idea.
I will reward anyone that guesses his age correctly in the chat with a free key to Windlands 2 on PSVR. So if you've got a PSVR and you can guess his age, then I can give you a free key. But yeah, he'll be back on the next show. Obviously, my name's Mike, host of the show. Obviously, I wasn't here on the last show, so I've got a few things to catch up with. I've been playing tons of VR stuff, though. Medal of Honor, Return to Rapture, which is a mod for Half-Life Alyx. Really great. They've got a part 2 coming soon. After the Fall, Blade and Sorcery, tons of stuff. But the thing I want to sort of highlight is a book that I read whilst I was away. Although I say it's a book, it's more of a graphic novel. And this is it right here. It's called The Electric State, and it's by Simon Stallenhag. It's kind of like a short story set in like a post-apocalyptic late 90s about a young girl and her little robot sidekick who kind of travel across America. And humanity has become like completely addicted to this like kind of virtual reality system called Center, which has completely like destroyed and melted their minds. And I just want to show you one bit of artwork from the book because it is incredible. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Is it like a guy, like a payphone kiosk headset thing, and he's kind of like stuck in there on his own, and the streets are empty. It's the artwork is incredible, as you can see. It's very bleak, but beautiful at the same time.
How is the like? Can you like maybe flick through a couple of the pages just to show like how the story is told?
So yeah, it's quite short. Wow. So this is another great picture.
I see. Yeah.
So little bits of text, but mainly with
the artwork next to it.
Mainly artwork. So that's why I say it's graphic novel. Probably take you about an hour, 2 hours to read through it. But it's if you like stuff like Black Mirror and you're into VR, then you'll like this. It's kind of dystopian, a bit bleak, but like I say, very beautiful at the same time. There's also rumors that this book is going to actually be adapted to a movie because Universal bought the rights to this a while ago because it's been out since 2018. And apparently the Russo brothers are on board to direct this new movie. They're famous for like the Avengers and Captain America movies. And Simon Stallenhag, his previous work, or actually the work that followed on from this was called Tales from the Loop. And that was adapted to a TV show by Amazon. And I spoke about that on the show because I thought it was a really great show. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this Electric State gets adapted to a movie in the future. But yeah, I'd highly recommend it. If you're someone like me that's quite hard to buy for at Christmas, then this might be a nice stocking filler for you from your family or whatever for Christmas. So one to keep an eye on. That's the Electric State. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
So what about the chat? Loads of guesses about Nathan's age.
Same age as Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah. He's like the Benjamin Button of VR. Yeah, and tons of suggestions of what people have been playing as well. We didn't read those out, but yeah, Mighty Quinn playing Lone Echo 2, Fabster, Resident Evil 4, Pete Shirley, Demeo, 11 Table Tennis, and a bunch of tabletop board games, Serpo, Gorilla Tag, Medal of Honor. Yeah, so everyone's been getting in amongst it with the VR content over the past couple of weeks, which is pretty cool. If one of you are right, I will double check because I'm not actually sure of his age myself. I will go back afterwards and I will email you, and you can get a key for Windlands 2 on PSVR.
This is I gotta say, any ladies listening, right? This is a typical guy thing, right? Like two ladies, they're definitely going to know, I think, each other's ages. They're going to know their birthdays. They're going to give presents. Like two guys, you know, we're useless.
Yeah. But yeah, happy birthday, Nathan, if you're listening or watching. So before we get into the news, we have two new sponsors this week. Our first is our friends over at Resolution Games with one of our favorite VR games, Demeo, which Rowdy mentioned, obviously, as part of the Steam sale. And also, if you didn't know, don't take our word on it that it's a fantastic game because it also won Best Game Award at the VR Awards last week. So I think everyone around.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
And there is also, I mean, I think it's probably worth reminding that this, obviously the Steam VR Game of the Year award is also like pending out there. I just saw them post on their socials today. So if you like Demeo, then go vote for them because this is one of those, as after Gorilla Tag later in the year, this dropped and I was like, ooh, okay, that's now gazumped Gorilla Tag, and Demeo, honestly, right now is probably my game of the year. I haven't decided yet, but
it's great.
It's absolutely up there.
If you're listening to us say Demeo and you have no idea what this game is all about, well, it's a turn-based tabletop co-op dungeon crawler where 4 players can venture out on a handful of challenging adventures together. Their 3rd expansion is releasing on the 16th of December called Roots of Evil, which includes a whole new adventure, which we'll all have to play together, of course. And they've got a new character coming called the Bard, which is awesome. The game is available on Quest, Rift, and Steam with cross-play support. And on top of this, the game will soon be getting a non-VR mode where flat-screen PC players will be able to join the fight alongside VR players, which is another awesome feature. We've added links to Demeo for Quest and Steam in the description below, so go and check it out and give them some love. Thanks to Resolution Games.
I believe that the discount is ending on the 30th of November, right? So if you want to pick that up, you need to be rather quick.
Yeah.
Be quick. And that's on Steam. Yeah, I'm not sure on Quest.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. So that's our sponsor this week. So let's get into the news. First bit of news this week is about Resident Evil 4 VR. Pretty fantastic game. I absolutely loved it. I know we were kind of a little bit divided on the show on previous episodes when we talked about it when it just released. But Jason Rubin actually shared on Twitter this week saying that Resident Evil 4 VR is officially the fastest selling app in the history of the Quest, which is incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this success is obviously due to the game being a great game even before it was ported to VR. You know, it was one of the most highest rated games of all time. But also, Nathy rightly pointed this out on Twitter, and that is that Oculus/Meta promoted the crap out of this game. They posted a total of 17 separate videos of Resident Evil 4 on their YouTube channel. I saw ads for this game everywhere when it launched. And poor Lone Echo 2 and Medal of Honor, in comparison, only got 3 videos on their YouTube channel. So they really did promote it. They're obviously very proud of it, which they should be, because it's a great game. But yeah, what you were a bit on the edge about this one, right, Rowdy?
Yeah, I haven't picked it up either again. It's just not, first of all, it's not really my kind of thing. I'm not really a horror fan. And some of the integrations, like I highlighted last time, I just don't think they're that well done. I like to see new titles and I like to see new things. And I understand that this is done because it drives hype and it drives attention to VR, and maybe that's what VR needs. I don't know, but from a personal perspective, it's just not something that I'm looking forward to.
I think that's exactly why this pitch, this approach, and why all the marketing dollars still make sense in 2021. It's a little sad to think that getting on the gravy train of VR, back in 2014, like now we're still having to introduce VR to people. And there's still a lot of people who've never tried a headset or, done the classic. I do think
this is the best way of doing it, though, with familiar titles.
It is.
Just what I'm a little bit scared of is that titles like Lone Echo 2 that haven't performed, nearly as well as Resident Evil 4 are now going to be set like, it's better to invest more money in bringing these old ports rather than investing money into what, in my opinion, a brilliant title like Lone Echo.
No, I do agree. But I think to get the mainstream audience in, we do need those familiar titles. Like a Call of Duty, for example, would be a real banger. And it's a shame Medal of Honor didn't really hit home as hard, but a Call of Duty would absolutely nail it. But going back to Resident Evil 4, there's one thing about this port that didn't sort of make it into the VR mode, the VR port, and that is the Mercenaries Mode, the Ada assignment, and the Separate Ways content. There was 3 additional sort of modes that didn't make it into this port. The Ada assignment and Separate Ways, you play as Ada Wong, who is a character that you meet in the game. You play sort of like a parallel adventure as her, running aside Leon's story.
Are these from the original game and got cut? They weren't DLC. They weren't something you would pay for in addition back in the day?
They weren't in the original game, as far as I'm aware, but all subsequent later ports had this content included for free.
Right.
But obviously they were absent in this VR port. But Oculus and Meta stated that this week that Mercenaries Mode will be coming next year as a free update to the game. So if you're not familiar with the Mercenaries mode, it was present in Resident Evil 4, 3, 5, 6, and Resident Evil Village. And this mode is kind of unlocked by completing the campaign. So once you finish the game, you get this Mercenaries mode. It's essentially like a speedrun mode. It's kind of renowned for being quite challenging, and you can choose a few different characters to play in the Resident Evil 4 version, including Hunk, who is a kind of a legendary umbrella soldier, and he's the dude in the thumbnail if you're wondering who he was. But basically you have a time limit to kill as many enemies as possible and to get a high score, and you also get bonus points for killing combos, and you can also collect additional time to sort of stretch it out longer. There's some amazing speedruns on YouTube, of course, but yeah, it's a great way to sort of add some more content to the game, especially if you've completed it like me and you're desperate to jump back in again. But yeah.
Okay,
have you completed it yet, Zim?
No. I mean, like, chances are I probably won't, but that's not because I didn't have a great time. I might feed it to my wife, to be honest, because I had her playing it and she was really enjoying it. So I've got her doing that and Skyrim. So it's kind of like it's actually equally as fun for me watching someone else ingest that type of content. And again, as I said, like, I played it on Wii, and I'm not usually a play things again kind of guy. I just didn't remember that for many months until it actually launched. So
it's been a while.
We'll see.
Yeah.
The thing is, in a lot of trailers and stuff, I've seen like bosses and baddies that I definitely don't remember playing. So maybe I didn't get that far. That's also possible.
That's like, I have got a terrible memory, and that's the best thing about having a terrible memory, is that you just get to relive this again. It's the same with movies. I can watch a movie again, I'm like completely forget what happens at the end. I'm just like, brilliant. This is what it pays you to have a brain of a goldfish that regularly forgets things.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that is Resident Evil 4 VR getting the Mercenaries mode for free next year, and then hopefully the other 2 bits of content will be added as free updates further down the line. Fingers crossed.
I love free content. I mean, the one thing that I would just say, maybe not contrary necessarily to Rowdy, but along a similar kind of line, on the topic of, like, do we take games that are AAA and then do a port? I mean, obviously, Subnautica, Skyrim, Alien Isolation, GTA. Through the mods, right? Like, all of those things, for me, have really been... They have a lot more staying power, a lot more punch power than I would have expected. As somebody who really doesn't like, apps like, let's say, Vorpex, stuff like that, like the halfway house of like, we'll take a game that's not really meant for VR, but we'll try to VRify it through code. Generally doesn't work so well. But when you get the studio native, or sometimes even mod community supported VR editions, they sometimes have a lot more punch for me than a design for VR experience. If it's short, lacking breadth, lacking the ability, in my opinion, to explore. Like you mentioned No Man's Sky. The reason No Man's Sky is so cool for somebody like with my interests, I can go anywhere. I can just explore a planet and find block-shaped fish, whatever it is. So that kind of gameplay for me is what I want.
Block-shaped fish with short attention spans and bad memory. That's like me.
I'm looking for a new podcast host.
Yeah. But the thing is about Resident Evil 4 VR, and we should move on, but one thing I want to say about Resident Evil 4 VR is that it runs beautifully on the Quest 2. It runs so well, buttery smooth. And that kind of brings me nicely onto our next bit of news, because we were talking about Blade and Sorcery Nomad on the Quest.
Yeah.
And for me, I really enjoyed this game, but it like, for me, the performance is pretty rough. It does seem that most people don't seem to care, because it got very good reviews on the Oculus Store.
Yeah. It reminds me of? It reminds me of when Boneworks landed. It was very choppy at the very beginning. And I suspect with the limited headroom they have on Quest 2, it might stay choppy.
I think so. I think it's all to do with the physics, and the same with Boneworks. It's all to do with the physics nature of the game. Yeah. But I think that's the kind of jankiness of it is also part of the appeal, I think, with games like this. But yeah, like I said, I had a great time with it. Performance was a bit rough, but this week they announced that mod support is now available for the Quest version, which I know a lot of people have been super excited for, because adding mods to the PC version was, again, one of those things that made it so successful, and more VR games should really take the opportunity to add mod support, because it really does expand the lifespan of any sort of game. But anyway, now you can mod the Quest version. So I jumped in, and you can download all these mods from a website called Nexus Mods, which Zim, of course, will be familiar with adding mods to Skyrim.
I live there.
Yeah.
Love Nexus.
Yeah. Zim's world. But for the Quest version, they've brought over one of the most popular mods from PC, which is the lightsabers. So now you can have Luke's, Obi-Wan's, and Darth Vader's lightsabers in like the arena or even the dungeon mode. And there's even a mod where you can have all the enemies have lightsabers as well. So you're actually having lightsaber duels with these dudes, which is pretty cool, and dudettes, I should mention. They don't retract, like the lightsabers don't retract and pop out. Yeah. Like they do on PC, but it's kind of like a limitation of the Quest right now. But you do get all the awesome sound effects. And then, so on top of the lightsabers, I added an easy dismemberment mode and also stronger telekinesis powers.
What are you doing?
I'm getting a bit, like, seeing this video, I'm getting a little bit worried about you, Mike. Like,
yeah. Like, if anyone sees this, like, from my old days, they might put me on some sort of, like, watch list or something like that and say, this guy's a danger to people, to the community. But yeah, I got totally carried away. I had an absolute blast with it. Like I said, performance isn't any better with these mods installed. In fact, it's a little bit worse, of course, as you'd expect. Yeah. But you can have a lot of fun with it. Modding the game is actually relatively simple. If you're someone like Zim, you'll have no problem with it. Essentially, you just download these mod zip files from Nexus mods. You just need to make sure that you download the Blade and Sorcery Nomad mods and not the Blade and Sorcery PC mods because they're not compatible with the Quest version. But then you just extract the zip files and then transfer the mods over to your Quest by connecting it to your PC and navigating to the Blade and Sorcery mod folder within the game files. I did a whole guide on my channel if you want to go check it out if you get stuck, but it's super easy. So yeah, now you can mod Blade and Sorcery Nomad, which is pretty awesome.
So did you have to connect your Quest and drop the files over into a specific folder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering if it was smart enough that you could go through the browser and get it directly, but not yet.
I'm sure there is a way. You could probably do it with a phone, but to make it as simple as possible and just to do the video and get it done, it's just easier with a PC. A lot of people are asking for like how to do it with the Mac, and I was like, I have no idea. I'd imagine it's the same. You just need to extract the files in a different way.
This is a very Zim thing, but I saw you in Nexus go to the slow download because you obviously use the free version. I'm like a lifetime subscription, so trust me, that fast download is wonderful. But
yeah, I'm sure
for files like this, it doesn't fucking matter.
They're super small anyway.
Exactly, they're tiny.
But bearing in mind, like mod support has only been available for 3 days now. There's already like a massive list of mods available already. So there's tons of stuff over there to enjoy. New arenas, more blood. Everything you can imagine is there. So yeah, if you're interested and you love Blade and Sorcery, go check it out. You have a blast.
I gotta say, those videos are amazing of you, Mike. I'm glad I showed up. That poor man, you just kept going at him. Jesus,
I don't know what it was. It's just like kind of like I don't know what it was. It's when it's like a caged animal. When you let them out the cage, there's no stopping them.
It's so true though. But Blade and Sorcery does pull that out in you. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great title, though.
Yeah.
So, that's mods added to Blade and Sorcery Nomad. Next bit of news is about Hitman 3. Can you guys remember this game?
I remember standing on a stool in that game, yes.
It launched back in...
I remember it had controllers.
Yeah. Well, it didn't have motion controllers. It had gamepad controller support. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Hitman 3, it released in January of this year, and it did have VR support, but it was only supported with the PlayStation version using PSVR. So, like you guys said, while it was great to step into the shoes of Agent 47 in VR for the first time, you were kind of limited to the PSVR's tech. So, it looked okay, didn't look great, didn't look bad, looked okay. But like Rowdy rightly said, you were limited to just a gamepad to control the game, which, really, if you want to be Agent 47, you want to really feel that garrote and put it around someone's neck and feel the last ebbs of life.
So worried, like,
honestly, the garroting part, and some of the mechanics worked quite well. The thing that didn't work quite well was like if you had like a rifle or something, you doing that with a gamepad felt so awkward. The only other thing that I remember very starkly from playing it is you'd walk into a crowd, and this is why I'm so happy about this news, but you'd walk into a crowd and half of the crowd wouldn't appear, and it would be pop in as you walked through the crowd. I remember this tower in Dubai or wherever you were, and it was like you could tell the very, very obvious in-your-face limitations of PSVR.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Hard to Get says, they did have motion control support via the motion controller and the DS4, but it's not like what we're talking about is independent motion controller support. It's not.
Exactly.
It's not really the same. They did their best, but it's not the same. But the developers IO Interactive confirmed this week that VR support for Hitman 3 will be coming to the PC version in January 2022 with full motion controller support. So it's going to support Index, going to support Oculus, other PC VR headsets, and you'll be able to, like we say, garrote someone full 1-to-1, which is going to be awesome. So
that makes me way more excited about it.
Wait.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's on sale before then, if it's on, I don't know if it's in part of the autumn sale on Steam, but worth checking out.
Oh, good point.
It's going to be worth checking that out, because if you can get it now cheap, the VR mode is most likely going to be added for free. So
yeah, and the thing is, it wasn't just, I mean, they've talked about Hitman 3, but we did have on PlayStation, you had Hitman 2 and Hitman 1, the remakes, VRified. So do you know if that's excluded from this news?
That will likely be the same with the PC version as well.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So if you go and you buy and you own that IP, then and that software, then you should conceivably get it. Okay, so that's good.
Yeah. And that was the great thing about Hitman 3, is because you got pretty much all the Hitman games in one package, and the original games were also updated graphically and mechanically to be up to standard with Hitman 3 as well. So,
do you hear that, Rockstar?
Yeah.
Do you hear that?
Yeah. We're going to be talking about Rockstar later.
Oh.
So yeah, that's coming in January 2022. Along with the PC VR mode, we're also going to be getting ray tracing support on the flat PC mode. I'm not sure if that's coming to VR or not, but I doubt it. Elusive target mode, which is like an arcade mode, along with more maps, modes, and storylines, which will be coming throughout 2022 alongside this big update in January. So there's going to be plenty more content to come. You could really, like Zim said, you could really sink hours and hours into this in the VR mode. So definitely one to have on your radar. And hopefully, when PSVR 2 eventually drops, hopefully we'll get an update to have those motion controllers added as well for the PSVR version.
You really want to feel the throat collapsing, don't you, Mike? Jeez, this is such a violent podcast, this one.
You just want to feel the heartbeat slowly diminish in your fingers. Yeah, that's what you want. That's what those like haptics are made for in those controllers. Perfect. Looking forward to revisit Hitman 3 in January next year. Next up is a quick mention. If you're our sort of age and you lived in the UK or and you and grow, oh god,
this is really limiting the audience. If you're our age, if you're in the UK,
so if you're our age, you lived in the UK, no doubt growing up, you watched Gamesmaster on TV. Did any of you guys watch Gamesmaster?
Didn't grow up in the UK. You cut me out.
Just me then. Okay, well, it was a classic TV show. Let me sort of fill you in on the details. It was a classic TV show in the 90s covering all types of video games. And there wasn't many TV shows around then that were focused on video games, and being obsessed with video games, obviously I love this show. It had these kind of like fun competitive challenges where people could win like the coveted golden joystick for winning. And I don't know if you remember when we had Jason Bradbury on the show year ago, he actually had one that he had borrowed from a friend and never given it back.
That's what that was. I was going to say I'd heard of the golden joystick before, but I didn't know what it was. Yeah.
That's what it was. But the other thing was, which was amazing, was you could ring in to the show and get tips from the Games Master himself if you were stuck in your favorite games. And of course, this was before the days of everyone having access to the internet and being able to Google the solution yourself. Oh, right. So I'm feeling super old.
Wait a second. Was that wasn't like a freebie? That was a charged line. That was a business thing, right? That had to have been a charged phone number, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you remember, but like Nintendo actually had an official Nintendo hotline that used to charge like £1.50 a minute or something ridiculous. Yep. So you'd be like stuck in like Jabu Jabu's belly in like Ocarina of Time, and you'd be on the line, and your mum would be screaming at you like, "Mike, get off the freaking phone! You're causing us a fortune." I'm like, "Look, I need to find out how to get out of his belly." Like.
Yeah, there were very few avenues to that information. Like you either bought a tips guide, right? Those like books that you like a tome of knowledge, or you'd like be talking to your schoolmates, on the schoolyard, that type of thing. If there were other gamers, or if you were just the only lone nerd, then you were out of that. Or you were racking up bracket up the telephone charges, calling these high premium lines,
Or
it's funny to think all those businesses are bankrupt right now, right? Because of the internet.
Yeah, but they probably retired and now they're just sitting on an island somewhere living out the rest of their days.
There's other telephone services I'm sure they could have just pivoted towards.
They branched into other businesses, So the other way you could do is you could bring up Gamesmaster, and the Gamesmaster himself would give you the solution, right? Yeah. Well, the show is now back in the UK, and it aired its very first episode on Channel 4's E4 last week with brand new hosts, and now Trevor McDonald is the new Gamesmaster. So Trevor McDonald, if you don't know him, he was like iconic news presenter, now stepping into the shoes of the Gamesmaster.
Wow.
And what I was surprised about with this show, and this is kind of why I'm bringing it up on the show, not just because I love it, but because it's actually sponsored by Meta. The whole show is sponsored by them.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah. The whole thing. So it actually featured a VR spot where a guy was trying to, do this like competitive thing with VR, and he was trying to get a full combo in Beat Saber's Escape on Expert Plus mode.
Oh God, that must have been a mess.
Well, he actually did it.
And
he did it.
And if you have questions about the game, do you need to go make a Facebook account and then reach out to them and contact them on Facebook Messenger or like?
Quite possibly, yes. But the cool thing is, because it is sponsored by Meta Quest, I'd imagine it's going to have a regular VR segment each week. So if you are in the UK, it's probably worth tuning into if you're a VR fan, or if you're outside of the UK and you just wonder what the hell we're talking about, you can actually watch it on YouTube. If you Google Gamesmaster, it'll probably come up as the first search result, but it's on E4's YouTube channel. So yeah, go check it out.
That's
but
really cool.
It was quite surprising that the whole show is sponsored by MetaQuest, like every episode of this series. Yeah.
The funny thing that I find is like having grown up in the US and then lived for the last like 16 years over here in Europe between Ireland and the UK, there's such like a subculture. It's so insulated. It's almost like the gamers Atlantis, right? Because it's English speaking, because generally, this pocket of gamers has the thing, but you have your own shows, your own magazines, your own, TV serials, all that kind of stuff that's totally different to what was there in the States. It's like a little cornucopia. So almost every single recommendation that you've given on the show, Mike, I've tried it out, whatever it is, because it's just like a background that I don't have. And it's funny because every time I tap into it, you find all these people who treat it like it's just known, but there's definitely millions of people who have no idea.
We have the same thing in Belgium, that it's like we also had, it wasn't called Gamesmaster, but it was a similar kind of show with a similar kind of concept. I think it was called Gunk TV. Wow. I think that's how it was called. But yeah, like I assume like every country has their own little kind of thing. It's just, the UK and the US have such a big scene around that, and it's English, of course, so they have a bigger audience. So but it
didn't feel big at the time. Like that's the whole point. Like here, right? Is that like in the 90s, if you were into this kind of stuff, it was very niche. It didn't get mainstream, and anytime there was something lifted to mainstream, it was like, oh. It was like something special. And so,
totally.
Having
like
this
how
stuff
we
come
grab
back
onto mainstream stuff with
cool.
VR now, it's the same thing. Almost.
Exactly the same thing, yeah.
Yeah. But there's a couple of people in the chat that obviously I hit the nostalgia button for, because Nimzo recognizes it. And also Watto UK said Dominic Diamond. He was one of the old hosts. So yeah, well done, Watto, for remembering. Yeah, so Gamesmaster is back. Go check it out. Next, bit of news. This is the big one. This is one everyone was buzzing about and going insane about. And this was Meta showing off their new haptic glove prototypes from their Reality Labs division. This is pretty cool, actually. They're obviously big believers that haptics will be critical in the coming human-computer interaction revolution of AR and VR and the metaverse combined, right? And they think touching and feeling the metaverse is a key to that. So their goal is to develop lightweight, stylish, comfortable, and affordable haptic gloves that can provide a range of complex and nuanced sensations such as pressure, texture, vibration, all to create the effect of feeling a virtual object with your hands in a virtual world, in the metaverse, right? Oh. So The key to achieving this goal, they say, is replacing traditional vibration motors and actuators found in many of the current haptic gloves that are on the market right now. So, like I've tried the Demeo gloves.
Yep.
Nathy's tried out a bunch of gloves from like Manus and like Sense gloves and all those different companies. They all tend to have like big chunky motors in them or actuators that kind of restrict the movement of your fingers, and everyone gets really concerned that they're going to break your fingers off.
Yeah, the finger breakers, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The finger breakers, yeah. They could never actually break your fingers, but yeah, a lot of people get concerned about that, and maybe rightly so. But what Meta are doing, they're going down a different route. So they're going in favor of soft robotics and microfluidics technology, which are commonly used in prosthetic limbs, actually. It's kind of interesting tech. And they're also pioneering a lot of this stuff themselves. But they wanted to share, what they've been working on, get people hyped about the future of the metaverse, especially with the name change recently. A lot of people not in the VR bubble are talking about the metaverse, and I think this is another big hype thing for them to get excited about. Physical interaction in the metaverse is going to be huge.
It's actually an old schoolmate of mine who works on this exact project.
Oh, really?
He works on the fluid actuators of
at Meta?
FReality. At
Oh,
Meta,
nice.
yeah.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Well, props to him. Looks like his hard work is paying off. But
sure.
more on that later, because there's a little bit of a caveat to this.
Yep.
But yeah, the glove prototypes that they showed, they kind of look something straight out of Ready Player One. So if you're an audio listener, to kind of describe them, they're sort of gloves that you obviously slip on, but they have an array of small kind of bubbles in them, I would say, like little air pockets that can either fill with fluid or air to simulate the feeling of touch and also to restrict finger movement. And as we know, of course, Zim and I are huge haptic fans, with vests and, like the Pro Tube, Force Tube, recoil gun stock. Adding any sort of form of haptics to any VR experience, even if it's a small amount of haptics, really does add a lot of immersion.
I just want to feel anything, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, these kind of little haptics in your hand and your fingertips are going to go a long way to adding to immersion and presence in the virtual world. They kind of shared a few short little clips, so I would urge you to go and check them out. But one of them is a girl using the Rift S, RIP, to interact with a small sort of wooden block in VR, which she can pick up, and you can see that her hands are being physically restricted by the microfluidic technology, which is kind of cool, which gives you the sensation of actually picking up the block and having that resistance on your fingers. In another clip, she's interacting with a guy who's also wearing the glove prototype. So both of them are in VR, and they're kind of shaking hands and fist bumping and then playing thumb war, which is pretty cool. And then they sort of talk about in their paper, which they published, that another use case is having like the haptics provide the sensation of using a keyboard. So, obviously with Meta, they've got this big thing about Infinite Office and being able to work in VR in the future. And the idea is that you'll be able to pull up your virtual keyboard and use these gloves to feel like you're interacting with a physical mechanical keyboard, or, having that clicky sensation feedback. But you won't have a keyboard there. It'll just be completely virtual. And yeah, I think when it comes to that, I think this kind of tech is going to be super important for that. And they do sort of have a caveat and say, look, this isn't going to happen anytime soon. This isn't imminent tech. This is kind of like far-reaching future stuff that we're experimenting with right now. So we're ahead of the curve when this tech eventually like becomes mainstream. And they sort of envisage that it'll be like 10, 15 years time. This stuff will kind of be like, normal. So what do you guys think about that? Like, how do you feel about replacing the current controllers that we're used to and we love, because we love thumbsticks. We're so used to thumbsticks, and talking about being an old school gamer growing up with like TV shows like Gamesmaster, we love these things. We love having a controller. And I wonder if that gamer in us will ever be ready to let go of physical controllers in exchange for these sort of gloves, because there's a lot of problems involved in introducing gloves only as an input, right? Like movement, for example. Like, how do you do that?
It's simply just size, right? I mean, it's equivalent to needing a pair of jeans. You can't just manufacture these in, one size, 3 sizes. Is it going to be enough? 5, 10? How many sizes of these gloves are they going to be? So that's the first kind of logistical problem, I think. And then the second one is, like you said, the kind of disconnect between when you have a game input device, it's very I think maybe you can overcome that through like a software virtualization layer. So if you had gloves like this, which help you to understand physical touch better, right? And it interacts just like you would with your feet, right? You could have these on your feet, you could have these on your hands, you could have them in other places if you really wanted, depending on what you were doing. But you could actually grab a virtual controller and feel the analog stick without any virtual controller actually in your hands. So you could still have your Oculus Touch controllers, right, as a software layer.
You just blew my mind a little bit there.
You understand what I'm saying?
Lie. Yeah, I totally do.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to actually be in your hand. You just have to feel like it's in your hand.
Wow.
And then that would be where you go with that. So I only think that when you're talking about fluids, I think that, again, how they manage that, like, what do you wear? Like the equivalent of a catheter bag, and then you've got these two gloves? Like, it's going to start looking pretty weird.
That's the challenge, right? Because right now, obviously, these gloves work and they're hooked up to a big bulky machine that are doing all the, pumping the air and the fluids around these things. And they have to do it so quickly as well to adapt to our sensations, because, when we touch things, it happens so quickly and we need that feedback instantly. Otherwise, everything's going to feel off. So I think they've managed to achieve that with what they've got right now. But like I said, it needs a bulky machine. The real challenge will be making them standalone, lightweight, comfortable, all in one, and if you don't hit the wall, water's going to piss everywhere and ruin everything.
I'm curious,
the thing I wanted to comment on, since I don't entirely agree that you need like multiple sizes, since I do think that a one size fits all for this might work. Now I don't know the research well enough in order to really comment on this, but I do know that the majority of touch that we have with our hands is in our fingertips. And if you look at the gloves as well, many of the actuators and many of the actual input control things are all located in the fingertips, and there are like arrays as well going down the line. So have but if you think about natural interaction, a lot of the stuff happens with the tips of your fingers. So if they have some kind of like a glove that is more like stretchy, that you can stretch over your hand with only the fingertips, being actuated. So I think you're gonna have probably like several stages before you get to like a complete full hand control. But I do agree that eventually the ultimate controller that we have is our hands, and that's how we interact with the virtual world. And if you then pick up a gun, or you pick up a sword, or you pick up anything in the world, like be it a rock, then you can simulate those kind of experiences by some kind of input control or output control with a glove. I do think that's possible. But that's going to be, I think, in stages. You're not going to have, the full feature range of I don't know how many actuators are in these kind of gloves. Not even the ones that you see now there. But for example, like the most common kind of places where you have interaction with, for example, the palm of your hands and the fingertips, and that's it. That's maybe the first glove or whatever that they release. Maybe not. I mean, that's just something that's coming from how I would approach a problem like that.
Certainly from what I understand is like all of these gloves have to be custom made right now. And I do think instead of like a one size fits all, I do think VR tech and this kind of wearable stuff in the future is going to be more customized to the individual, because I'm already aware of a project that is working on like face gaskets that are custom molded to your personal face.
Your skull.
So you can stay in VR for longer. Wait.
How do they size you for that? You just get like a cake tin of goop and you just like shove it in your face and then you post it off to them?
Send it back. 3D scanning with your phone.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, that's much less messy.
We're very focused on the concept of a glove, but we don't know what the ultimate concept will be. Maybe it will just be something that will go over your fingertips and something that goes down your hand, indeed, to like a pack in the back. We're gonna have like several iteration of these kind of things, and of course, everyone wants a glove because then you have the full iteration of actuators over your hands, full control over everything. But I don't think that the first prototypes that we're going to see on a consumer level, at least, are going to include all of that.
I know we've talked about this on a previous podcast. I don't remember if it was 2, 4, 6, 8, how many long ago. But in my opinion, I'm almost not so interested to go through the teenage years of this tech. I am totally signed up for hopping from here to that place where Musk was promising, where you get a slice behind the ear, they jab it into your sensors, and boom, I've got full body feeling. So that when I'm in VR Kanojo and that little Korean girl slaps me on the butt, I feel it. It's just like that's no, but honestly, like you have like almost an uncanny valley for feel, right? Because like you've definitely, each of you guys have probably felt this. You put a thing on your back, okay, I can feel in the back or I can feel in the front, but I can't feel my thighs or I can't feel my feet or, my face. Like I can't feel the cold of the room that I've just walked into. I'd like to get to a point in the next 20 years where we can feel that, not just pressure, but also temperature.
And I feel the same way as you do when it comes to like VR treadmills. There's a lot of hype around treadmills, of course, because they look pretty cool and it's kind of like very futuristic. But when you actually try one, you realize how shit they are. And I'm ready to just bypass that tech directly and just plug straight into the brain, jack me in, and then I can just run through a field and it'll just be in my brain. And
so many issues I have with that, but
I'm sure.
Another time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
What do you mean? It's easy. You just install this brain computer Meta interface, and you just feed them all of your data straight away.
Easy.
And they can pipe ads right into your face.
That tech would obviously, bypass a lot of problems we have in VR right now, but
and create a bunch more. I have to agree with Rowdy. Like, I'm impatiently, aggressively interested in that future. I just am.
For society in general, like we're all screwed at that point.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing. But anyway, So going back to the gloves, while these are really cool, they look pretty epic. I don't know if you're aware, but a company called Haptics, they also make haptic gloves. We've talked about them on the show before. They weren't very happy about this, about Meta talking about their gloves, because they state that their tech is almost identical, and they claim that they were the first ones to create this kind of microfluidic technology in gloves. And apparently they actually showed this tech to Meta execs over the last sort of 4 years while they've been developing it. And obviously now they're upset that they've seen their design being potentially ripped off by Meta. Whether or not this will lead to some sort of legal battle, or if like Haptics have protected themselves with like patents and stuff for this tech, remains to be seen. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the next sort of months.
That's
years.
Still a David versus Goliath, though. Like, I mean, It doesn't matter if you like. Again, we had this with Geek Odin. I remember, like, he had, I don't know if invited or he'd shown off, right, some of his tech or talked about how he built it. They're interested insofar as they're getting a freebie, and then they take it and they write it. We've seen with so many things. SideQuest is the other one, right? An app lab. I mean, that transformation is just in Facebook's DNA, and the rebranding of Meta doesn't change that. And I'm absolutely not surprised by this story. But does it mean in the end that they won't benefit more than Haptics from the tech and from what they're developing? They are putting money into it. They are hiring people. They are putting brain power into it. It's not like they're not working towards it. But are they shortcutting? If we, the past says they are. Now, business is cutthroat. It pretty much always has been, and so I think you have to be very careful if you're going to start playing with a big corporate and showing any of your IP to them, whether it's software or hardware. Just be careful what you share, because I mean, we saw that. I remember we saw that with the acquisition of by Amazon of Twitch. Like early on, Google basically came in, Twitch opened their books, showed them how to do it, and then Google said, "Well, I'm not buying. I'm going to go make my own platform." Same thing. Big companies do this, so be careful. And then, probably don't get into a legal battle afterwards, because even if you win,
it's like
it's going to cost you.
That recent series on Netflix, right, with the Google Maps.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that either.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
No, what is this about?
It's basically a German company that originally developed, the concept of Google Maps, and they showed it to a developer that then got hired by Google to implement the exact same system, and they never won the legal battle, even after years and years and years.
But look even at the whole Carmack thing, right? Back at the early days of Oculus, right? Knowing how to implement, bringing in the VR tech over.
Exactly, and Google did the exact same thing about promising that they would buy, but then when it actually, the papers were on the table, they just said, "Oh yeah, we're not going to buy," and they implemented their own.
It's snaky, but
the Google Maps.
It's business.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope Haptics do get some, something out of this. They put a lot of the work in. They showed it to them. They deserve the credit. They deserve the money. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping they get something out of it. But yeah. These sort of haptic gloves, obviously in the pipeline, long way off yet, 10 to 15 years, but it'll be interesting to see how this sort of this argument plays out with haptics. But we'll obviously keep you updated as well.
The other side of that, the other flip of that coin is open source or walled garden solutions still have value.
There is an open source VR glove project, actually. I think it's called by Lucid VR. If you Google it, they reckon it's like $20 worth of parts, and you can assemble your own Steam VR compatible haptic glove that offers like resistance. It's pretty rudimentary with 3D printed parts, but yeah, go check out. I think it's by Lucid VR. Go and check it out.
Budget finger snappers, then. Budget ones.
Budget finger snappers. That's the one. Yeah. So that's VR haptic gloves from Meta.
Yeah.
Possibly by haptics, but from Meta. So the final bit of news this week is about Grand Theft Auto's Definitive Edition on PC. If you've been anywhere near sort of traditional gaming news over the past couple of weeks, you've seen the dumpster fire that is Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition. It's a bit of a mess, apparently, by all accounts. And as we know, during Oculus Connect, Facebook, no, Meta Connect. Sorry,
we're getting it.
We're getting there.
Hey!
The Zuck himself announced that GTA San Andreas was obviously coming to the Quest, which rightly so got everyone hyped, including myself. But the PC community were kind of a bit upset because, once again, they were kind of left out in the dark because it seems that GTA San Andreas is only going to come to the Quest. It's not going to come to the Rift platform. Yeah. However, last week we did have a glimmer of hope as a fellow called Ben Turpin on Twitter shared his discovery of a VR mode found in the GTA Definitive Edition. And this was reported on widely by the gaming media as a kind of like an unfinished VR mode that was found in the game. And essentially what it was that if you used a debug mod, you could activate a first-person mode using the input GTA.VR_1. And it would happen. And I was like, holy crap, this is freaking amazing. Like, I'm going to be jumping into Vice City and San Andreas on PC in VR. I couldn't hit the buy button quick enough, even though I knew the game was completely trash. Yeah. So I installed it, tried this mod, entered the debug string, had a VR headset connected. Nothing happens. So unfortunately, the display was completely black still. It doesn't trigger any sort of VR mode. It is literally just a rough, flat screen, first-person mode. That is it. Right. So I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe, it just needs a little bit of work from the community. Like maybe the modding community might be able to fix this. So I reached out to Luke Ross, who made the incredible Grand Theft Auto 5 VR mod and also the Red Dead Redemption 2 VR mod. And I kind of shared the details with him, and he replied saying, despite the name, it doesn't look like a VR option at all. It's probably just a placeholder that activates the default first-person camera of the Unreal Engine. Apart from that, it doesn't look like any work was done on it by the developers. So I'd say for now, it's unfinished in the sense that it's 0% complete. So yeah, any hopes?
So you refunded it.
I kept it, actually. I'm hoping that it's just going to get fixed, and then maybe in a year I'll play it when it's good. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It looks like, it's not going to be working for the PC crowd anytime soon. It's not to say that we won't get a mod from the likes of Luke Ross sometime in the future, but it's obviously going to take him a lot of time because he is starting from scratch. So yeah, no GTA Definitive Edition coming to PC VR anytime soon. But of course, we're getting the San Andreas version coming to Quest. I think it's sometime next year, so we've got that to look forward to instead.
Well, GTA and any GTA in VR properly done is great. So
yeah, like GTA 5 and Red Dead, although they were very performance heavy, if you had a high-end PC, they were really cool experiences. My favorite by far, and I'm still gobsmacked I haven't done it again since, was having the full racing wheel set up and driving cop cars around Los Santos, and using the police mod and responding to all the crimes and stuff and putting the sirens on again. It was like amazing. Like took me straight back to the good old days.
When you didn't do that. Yeah.
Get on the ground. So that is sadly the GTA Definitive Edition isn't going to have a VR mode anytime soon.
Yeah.
So that's all the news. And now it's time to thank our second sponsor of the show, our brand new sponsor as well for this week, and that is Windlands 2 from Psytec Games. another favorite of ours.
Absolutely.
And this is the great thing. With these sponsors, we do vet them very thoroughly, and we only accept sponsors that we love. And so far, we've been super grateful to have amazing sponsors. And Windlands and Demeo, two fantastic games. But if you're not familiar with Windlands, because it came out a little while ago on PC, it's a gorgeous co-op adventure game where you have to swing your way through the Windlands using a set of grappling hooks, and you have to take down these like monstrous, huge, challenging enemies with your trusty bow, and do it with your friends by your side, which is great. And the swinging mechanics in this game are just so satisfying, because there's moments where you don't have a floor as such. You have to swing to get to the next area, and that momentum that you build up swinging through the environment is just so fantastic. Like I said, it's been out on PC for a while, but Windlands 2 has just been released for PSVR via the PlayStation Store, or you can grab the physical version, which has just been released in conjunction with Perp Games. They've got a boxed edition. So yeah, go and check that out. The original Windlands game is actually available on Quest via App Lab now, also available on PC and PSVR. So if you want to check that out, you can. The sequel, Windlands 2,
that plays very
available.
well, by the way. The Windlands on App Lab is fantastic. I went through like 3 of the levels in it, and it's beautiful.
Nice.
And it's got a bunch of really positive reviews on App Lab for people who are like, I saw this before, didn't get a chance to play it, so glad it's out again. I think it suits Quest perfectly because there's no cable, so you can spin around, and it's running great, frame rate, all that kind of stuff. So both of these titles, I mean, if you really want kind of a bit of escapism, Windlands 2 is a little bit more action adventure. And obviously it's got the multiplayer aspect, which is fantastic. I'm hearing a lot of very positive reception, more than I was expecting, actually, from the PlayStation VR community and the creators there. Really enjoying it. So such a colorful, enjoyable game. But that first one is like, it's the perfect Zen, game. It really is.
That's something I wanted to say as well, is that, both, even though it's Windlands and Windlands 2, they're both fairly different games in the way that they play. Like it's not like if you need to get Windlands 2 in order to get an upgrades over like Windlands, because I think you can have both of them and they are very separate kind of games. Even though they share the same title, they both have great swinging mechanics, but the gameplay feels different.
Yeah,
in both
totally. Yeah. Well, Windlands 2, like I said, is now available on PC and PSVR. No Quest version yet for Windlands 2, but we'll keep our fingers and toes crossed for that in the future. We've added links to both Windlands, the original, and the sequel on all platforms in the description below if you want to go and check it out. So thanks to Psytec Games for sponsoring the show. We love you very much. Now it's time to hand over the reins to Zim for this week's top picks of content coming in the next couple of weeks. And then we've got some good stuff to look forward to, actually. Yeah, I'm excited.
There's a fair amount, actually, landing. So let's go ahead and jump into it. The first one is an old friend, actually, an old friend of ours, and some of you will recognize his furry little face. I'll just tell you a little bit about this. Lucky's Tale has landed on Quest 2 as of the 18th of November, which I think no one expected for it to come back after his foray in Flatland. Let me tell you about this. So playing as former Oculus CEO Palmer Luckey, you zip up into a bright orange furry outfit, and you take down naughty corporate lawyer bees in a rich and joyous world that starkly contrasts with their own depressing and dirty existence. Not really, but... so this is Lucky Swifttail. I didn't know he had a surname, actually. So Lucky Swifttail is...
change that.
Lucky Swifttail is a brave fox on a quest to save his friend Piggy from the monstrously tentacled Glorp. You'll run, jump, and this is a 3D platformer in VR. So one of the original experiences from Rift is now available. Yep. Now it's interesting that this is another Quest 2 exclusive. It's kind of surprised me again, but they're obviously pushing right before the holiday season a lot of games like this. So like Mike, you were talking about remasters. This remaster includes a few changes. So one of the changes is lighting, rendering, audio, optimizations for performance, specifically on Quest 2, a refined and updated model. In fact, having hopped into the game, Lucky he looks kind of odd to me, having played the original game. There's just like parts that I'm like, you're like in higher def, slightly different character model, like different face. I experienced this only before in Skyrim, where I accidentally updated the character model of one of my followers, and I was like, you look different. So Lucky looks different.
Not as stark as Sonic the Hedgehog when they made the original trailer.
That was a bit of a heart stopper.
So it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. It's very gentle update that they've made to him.
Okay.
But I think if you haven't played a third-person platformer in VR, Lucky's Tale, which is the price of this, is about $20, £15. Fair price for what you get in the game. It's relatively short. I remember it between being like 4 and 6 hours or something like that. And it's not as much character, I'd say. Lucky doesn't have as much character as like a Mario in the Super Mario series. But it's a decent platformer. So if you haven't played around with Lucky yet, then zip up that bright bushy suit and hop on in.
Yeah, what I love about it, and I played the Quest port as well recently, because like you, I was a big fan of it. Well, the thing is, that was one of the only games that you could actually play when you bought a CV1. There was very limited content back then. Yeah, so it was one of the games that everyone played if you bought a CV1 when it originally shipped, because it didn't ship with any motion controllers. It only shipped with an Xbox control pad, right?
Yeah.
So Lucky's Tale was one of the few games that you could play. But what they did well in the port is, that transfers very well, is when you go down like a little pipe into like a little underground section, the 3D there is just so well done. Everything just feels really like it's come to life, and it's vibrant, and it's popping, and it looks great. Those little like 3D dioramas underground, they look phenomenal. So yeah, it's very cool.
It's whenever I think about Lucky, I can't but think about our favorite hedgehog friend who had a birthday. Trying to remember his name now. Do you guys remember? So the Carmack remastered it. Henry. I don't know why Henry hasn't featured in a game. I think he should be Oculus IP, or Meta IP.
True.
But I would really be interested to play a game as Henry, because he has such character and class. Forget Lucky. Let's have Henry as the next sidekick.
Henry's Tale.
It would be great if they paired them both up and you had a co-op experience or something like that for the families next Christmas. Go on Meta Oculus Facebook. Listen up.
Yeah.
There you go. So
Nice.
that's the second one. I've got a couple of mentions coming up, but I'll mention another game, which we touched on just briefly earlier. So After the Fall. I already covered this by accident a couple podcasts ago. Mike, that must have felt like just yesterday.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I did it again today. December 9th, we've got After the Fall kind of landing. So this is from the creators Vertigo behind Arizona Sunshine. It's it's meant to be an intense, epic co-op game. I think one of the headline features for me, having seen the rundown, not just that it's in this snowy kind of world packed with zombies, but the idea of customizable weaponry, being able to crew up in a very Left 4 Dead style, but then being able to go head-to-head 4v4 is a pretty cool feature that I wasn't expecting. So those things sound pretty neat. So if you want to run around an icy Los Angeles, After the Fall is definitely one that you can tell the community is hyped for. There's not a ton of releases this time of year because everyone's bunkering down with sales and it's holiday time. But After the Fall is coming very shortly. And if you're quick enough, be able to get into, if you pre-order, you get a chance to kind of play over the weekend and give it a taster. Now you guys have both had a taste and keen on your thoughts and experiences.
Yeah, so if you pre-order the Steam version right now, you've got access to it for free up until I think it's tomorrow. So you really need to get in there quick. Mm-hmm. This is just a playtest. I don't know if this is like kind of like a final build of the game, because there's a few like fundamental issues with weapon handling in particular that not only me but a lot of other creators that I've spoken to have highlighted, like Rowdy being one of them, Matt from BMF, GT, we all shared the same concerns. I will say that I love the whole vibe. The whole vibe of it is like spot on. They've got this kind of like really cool like 80s vibe, cool like 80s style music. You've got these kind of retro light gun arcades that you interact with as a menu system and as a lobby system. There's like tons of people milling about.
The thing I liked about it immediately when I loaded this up was like I almost forgot how good a PC VR game besides Lone Echo and just can look. Yeah. It looks like the I'm not gonna say anything about like the game or whatever because it's just a playtest and my experience wasn't all too positive, but like when you get into that first environment already, like how well the environment is laid out, and the detail of it, the interaction with the environment, I think is really, really well done. It feels a bit like refreshing, having played like so many Quest titles.
Yeah.
To then have something that looks just so good on a PC VR title.
Yeah. The thing that stood out to me was the lighting. One of the really important parts about Left 4 Dead was how they use lighting to tell you where to go without telling you where to go. And just the kind of look of the game. It doesn't feel monochrome. It seems kind of exciting, like an exciting environment to be part of.
Like you're constantly.
We have some people asking what the weapon handling concerns were. I'll just give my experience really quickly. Sure. Is that I am not able to I didn't get through the tutorial because I got so frustrated by it. But it's like when I grab my pistol in my right hand and I bring my left hand close to it to aim
to
on
support
something.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, it automatically switches to my left hand.
Yeah.
And if I you have like a manual reload feature and an easy reload feature, but the manual reload feature for me at least, I can barely use it because every time I bring my left hand to to cock the gun, it switches to my left hand, which is in these kind of situations when there's a lot of enemies coming, it's not something you really want happening. Yeah. But I mean that was my experience. I don't know if it's I played it on the Oculus Quest 2. Yeah. With a link cable connected to it, so I don't know why that is happening. Also, I didn't have a lot of battery. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But
no. Those things that you mentioned are exactly the same thing that everyone's highlighting at the moment. Same experience with me. Like you say, you've got two options to reload: an auto reload where you just eject the mag and bring the gun to your chest, and it auto reloads it, which is like Arizona Sunshine. Yeah. Or you have manual reload where you have to physically slot in the mag. But the problem is, the mag's location, you can't actually fully insert the mag without your controllers colliding. It just doesn't feel good. Yeah. And again, like I had the same problem with you. Like there is a mechanic to use a supporting hand to aim correctly, which cups the bottom of the gun. But as soon as you press it incorrectly, it automatically moves the gun to your left hand. And the same with pulling the slide back when you reload. It automatically jumped to my left hand. So I had the same issues.
Yeah, we have Elnar VR saying that if you turn off sticky grip, that issue should be gone. Right. So that's something that, I mean, I haven't really gotten to the point that I got like a menu option system because I think that's even further down. But that's probably something that I can try.
Sorry, is sticky grip an option in the game or is this something more platform level? It's in the game.
Option in the game, I'd imagine. But the problem was I couldn't find like an options menu anywhere because also I couldn't find an option to turn on smooth turning.
I was wondering. I saw in your clip here. I was wondering why you were using snap turn because I'm like that. Yeah. It's not like Mike.
No, definitely not.
But I think those options come after you finish a certain I think the tutorial you get like that that casket, that gaming casket where you can select several of the things so you can set some of them. Before you start, but I think once you get through the tutorial, you just get like an invite menu as well and like an option menu. But I just I quit after because I had so many problems with that pistol. I was done with it for the night.
But yeah, a couple of other issues that I found was when you're in the lobby area, everyone's muted, so you can see all these other players milling around, but you can't. None of them are actually talking. And I kind of get it so that you don't have screaming kids just driving you nuts. But the thing is, if you team up with a group, then voice should just be enabled by default, because I was in a team and we were all muted, so we couldn't communicate. And basically this is a game that revolves around communicating with your teammates. They also have this thing which is also in Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood, but when a character is reloading, their character says, "I'm reloading," and then you get a little icon in your HUD of their character model, their face, and it's just I just want to hear it. I don't want to have to see a pop-up in my display. So hopefully we can turn that off.
They do have I saw in some other videos that they have HUD options, but like I said, I haven't had enough experience with this game yet to really give the solid impression with it. I haven't had the time to really experience that, but I do see they have HUD options so that you can select.
Hope so. I will play around again because Elnar in the chat says on Oculus the right thumbstick click is to open the menu, which is I didn't find it.
You wouldn't find that easily.
No.
Wow.
So that's unusual. I will go into the menu and mess around with it. But yeah, hopefully the weapon handling stuff will all get resolved because, like I said, this is just a play test right now. But on the flip side, it was very promising. The whole vibe and everything, I dig it. Co-op zombie shooting, I'm all down for. It is essentially visually looks great. Hopefully that looks great on the Quest as well. I would say that the difficulty is a bit too easy for my liking on normal. I would probably prefer to play on hard. If I'm playing with you guys, for example, because we're all well versed in VR shooters, so we should smash it. But yeah, I want that challenge where your teammates are getting downed and you have to revive them and stuff, and so it's more frantic and exciting. But talking about like the lighting effects, Zim, going back to what you were saying, they do a great job of like being in outdoor areas, then in indoor areas that are unlit. So you're sort of guiding the way with your torches, and that's when the tension really starts ramping up, and you've got zombies crawling on the ceilings and all sorts of shit going on. That makes it really fun. So I would say that it's definitely very promising. If they can iron out these little issues with the weapon handling, I think they're onto a winner here.
I liked seeing you trying to unlock a door with your face. I think that was a pretty fun mechanic. So in one part, Mike and his crew are trying to get through this door, and he's like pressing his face in the virtual world up against this reader, and it goes ding and lets you in.
Yeah. And the thing is, I couldn't quite reach it because I'm quite small. So I was like on my tiptoes trying to get my face to line up with this.
Can you imagine being a kid and trying to
jumping?
Do that? Yeah. But yeah, I'm really, the thing is, all the things that you guys are saying to me, these are all things that can be worked out. Those are not design problems that cannot be smooth. Like the smooth turning, having the options menu bound to the right button on the right platform so that getting to the settings is easy. Having those toggles available. None of this sounds like it would really damage the gameplay. One big question I had, I suppose, Rowdy, maybe in the tutorial you wouldn't have seen this, but you and I kind of played it around the same time. Do you remember piles and piles of bodies? Like quite a few. Like how do they deal with the dead zombie character? Does it fizzle away? If you have 20, bodies on the ground, does it stay or does it go away? How does that work? Do you guys?
I think they go away, but the blood remains. So, I think if you look from the gameplay that I posted, there was tons of blood all over the snow, for example, but the bodies themselves have actually disappeared, I think.
Figured they would have to do that. Yeah, it's a small shame, but I haven't seen a game yet that's been able to tackle many entities at the same time.
It's funny, when you mentioned it, I was like, I didn't even think about that, but it makes sense that they would disappear because I just remember there being a lot of blood everywhere and not seeing bodies.
Yeah, it does seem to be there's some kind of a time.
According to PD and Elnar, they stay though. So I mean,
watch the gameplay. Watch the gameplay.
Yeah,
play the gameplay back. Let's see.
I'm watching it. I'm not seeing them dissolve because in a lot of games they'll do that cheat. The thing is, when I played this preview, whatever, 1 or 2, I suppose 2 years ago, there were literally probably 30 to 40 zombies in a pile in front of me, and it was very exciting to have that in VR. And so if they have found a way to keep it, I mean, the corpses just seem to be on the ground from what we're seeing in the video. So
I stand corrected.
Let's see. There's got to be a
limit to that. I told you I've got a memory
like
a goldfish.
That's a good point. Yeah, you're following it through. So I've got a couple of other things. Sure. Unless you guys had any other points you wanted to mention, or you good?
No.
All right. Yeah. So we'll play this at some point. F.Reality, you'll probably do this at some point, and we might even do that live, so keep your eyes peeled. Okay, so a couple of things. Bit of news. I was scrolling through my Quest the other day, and I came across the title, and I was like, the heck is this? I didn't buy this game. Why is this in my library? So there's been a rebrand, and I wanted to tell you about it. So there's a game called Golf Plus, which is the rebrand and kind of amalgamation of a couple of different pieces of golfing games. So you might have heard of Pro Putt or Pro Putt by Top Golf, or however they had it labeled. So in an Oculus blog post on just recently, they mentioned about this, and they said that Golf Plus is a new name that better represents the commitment to all the aspects of the game of golf. From mini golf and putting with Pro Putt to casually hitting shots with friends at Top Golf to a full course experience with real clubs, real courses, and real physics. And that's this package called Golf Plus. So they said, and this is from the 18th of November, so again, similar timing to Lucky's Tale. They said, today Golf Plus has launched a full course update, including a clubhouse, a driving range, and a practice area. an 18-hole oceanside course, Callaway clubs, multiplayer and difficulty settings for any skill level. There's a partnership with Wolf Creek Golf Course in Mesquite, Nevada, which means you can now play that epic, well-known golf course for $8. It's an in-app purchase. So I thought this was interesting, and you've got three kind of different pieces in a single package. If you have the original game, you've got the original game. You now have the option to buy some DLC with it. But just to compare or contrast against, let's say, my favorite golf game, which is Walkabout Mini Golf, who we've had on as a sponsor before, that's a 5-player game. This was, again, as I said, started its life as Pro Putt, which was another kind of putting experience, somewhat like mini golf, but I'll say like the grown-up, the adult version, because it was like a little bit more serious. But that's an 8-player game. So if you find that you happen to be in, I don't know, a family or a bunch of friends, and you're maxed out at 5, well, now you have an option with Golf Plus. And that surprised me, and I just wanted everyone else to kind of be, who was also surprised in their libraries. You now have a more fully featured game under a new title. So Golf Plus. There you go.
Nice. Cool.
So that is that one. Final little point, and this is, Mike, I think what you were talking about was, and simply because we did Virtual Cup for Mike, because he wasn't on the show, and we did that one last week. So this week, I figured...
I did look into it, by the way. I did look into it. Yeah. It looked pretty rough, though. It looked pretty bad.
Very simple, right? A very simple New Zealand Cup thing. Check next week, or last week's, 2 weeks ago's episode, if you want to learn more about New Zealand's foray into VR, and want to be a New Zealander cop, maybe a twisted New Zealander cop by the looks of it. So this one is for Nathy. So he's a huge BioShock fan. And Half-Life Alyx, again, he's a huge fan of that. So naturally, Return to Rapture, which released some time ago, was a BioShock mod with a whole bunch of different assets that you could experience from the BioShock universe. This now is going to get richer because Chapter 2 is landing soon. So this is going to bring Big Daddies as enemies, additional assets from the BioShock universe. What I don't have is a release date. So unless, Mike, you know that, just tell us a little bit about playing the original.
Yeah, so I was contacted by the developers of it, and they were like, hey, we're working on this part 2. I didn't even know it was in the works. And I was like, oh, this looks great. And then they shared the trailer, and it had like proper BioShock weapons. So they'd replaced actually like the Half-Life weapons with BioShock weapons. They had plasmids. They had BioShock enemies like the splicers and stuff. And I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And they were like, yeah, it's going to be releasing like any day now. This was like a week ago. It's been delayed because I think they've uploaded it to the Steam Workshop, but there's some bugs that they found in last-minute QA. So it's almost ready and is likely to drop imminently within the next 2 weeks, I would say. So keep your eye out for it. It's going to be free. Of course, if you want to support them, they're going to be providing PayPal or Patreon details so you can support them. But just like the first part, it's going to be like 8 to 10 hours worth of content.
Damn.
I'd never actually played Return to Rapture, so I thought I'd jump in and see what the original mod was like. And I have to say, it's freaking fantastic. Like, it's so well done. I was actually surprised because when I originally saw it, I was like, yeah, it's just like Half-Life Alyx, but like, in like a little BioShock skin. But it's actually much more than that. They've added their custom voice lines, a story. You have the Vita Chambers, where if you die, you respawn in the Vita Chambers and stuff like that. They've done a really amazing job with Return to Rapture, and that released like a year or so ago. And this one they just say is like phenomenal in comparison. So I've got real high hopes for this second part, and I think it's going to blow everyone away when it finally drops.
That's nice.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I love these projects. I absolutely love them. It looked a little bit complicated to install. Like you had to download like 8 maps separately as into your Steam library. Right. So I just wanted to mention that in case people are thinking it's a one-click job. It isn't.
The new one is a one-click job.
Ah, okay. So they found a way to package a little bit more smartly.
But also what I will say is about the original, although it is in 8 parts that you have to download from the workshop, they do jump seamlessly through them.
Right.
So when you get to the end of a chapter, it literally loads straight into the next one. You don't have to go back to the menu or anything, which is
really
very clever.
It's just about download the assets, go play your experience, and that's job done.
What I find amazing about this, or like so great about this is like the stark difference that you have between a company like Meta and a company like Valve. because this is the idea that Valve has with like open sourcing their engine, or like open sourcing their assets and making a modern community, and having that modern community contribute to that with a fantastic title like this. And I really think that deserves like a little bit of a bit of extra attention as well, because I really think that these kind of things are so these are the things that are going to keep PCVR alive. If we see like Meta like going more and more towards like Oculus Quest, the standalone, like I think these kind of games and experiences that are being developed by the community themselves basically are what going to keep PCVR at least alive.
It's funny that you say like that about PCVR, but even like with Mike toying around this week with Blade and Sorcery mods.
Blade and Sorcery
mods in general, I think give so much additional life. I would have never spent 6 years of my life hosting races in Assetto Corsa if it wasn't for mods. The original game was pretty rubbish, and honestly, original Skyrim was pretty rubbish. But when you have mods, which is a collaboration of hundreds of artists, contributing to a game, it's going to be that those artists are also going to find a place on Quest and mobile platforms as well. So I'm super excited. I agree with you that like when we see the focus, the Eye of Sauron, like, or Saruman change, and it shifts, and now the money line is dries a little bit up. It gives such extensibility to it. The last thing I wanted to say in this, and this was a more recent release. Don't think I mentioned it last week. Let me just see. No, I didn't. So I did want to say something. Mike, you and Nathy had suggested a game to me that I got to play, and I just wanted to show it because I think it doesn't get much fanfare, and it's a really different kind of game. The Secret of Retropolis is it's equivalent in VR, like a point-and-click adventure, like a story in a retro scene. Again, it's relatively short. You can probably clear it in 45 minutes if you're Zim, an hour and a half. But it's a really neat story, really neat graphics. And I wasn't surprised at all that the entire thing had kind of been drawn up in Quill. And so that visual style, we used to get a whole bunch of indie stuff that had been created, some of it from Oculus Studios, but also outside, really cool projects. I haven't seen them in a while because of the news that we had with those things, no longer being funded, studios shut down and stuff. So seeing the Secret of Retropolis, if you are looking for kind of a short, sweet story, I gotta say, good recommendation. So my little hat again off to both of you and Nathy for the recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really great. Like if you grew up playing point-and-click adventures like Monkey Island and those kind of games, you will immediately...
The Longest Journey.
It feels like a LucasArts title, honestly.
It absolutely does. Yeah, spot on. The devs did an amazing job, and it's like a hidden gem. I don't know if is it on App Lab or is it on the official store now?
It's on the official. Sure. I think we just launched on the official store. I think we can get it in the official store now, which is awesome. Impressive. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, they did a great job with it. Definitely worth checking out if you like point-and-click adventures.
Yeah. So that's us. That's us for this week's highlight on Spotlight of releases. Right. So that was Lucky's Tale, After the Fall, Golf Plus, and Return to Rapture, the Half-Life Alyx mod.
It's quite a bit to look forward to before the real Christmas season starts, right?
Yeah, definitely. After the Fall is going to be the big one. I'm looking forward to playing with you guys. Yeah. Hopefully we can jump in, maybe even after this show. Yeah. So if you're in there, you might see us. Just saying. If you've got any questions for us, by the way, now's a great time. Chuck your burning questions in the chat whilst I just wrap up the show and remind you of the show times. Thanks again for everyone that's viewing the show and also listening after the fact on the audio versions, which are available on Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Also, thanks to our amazing sponsors, Resolution Games with Demeo and Psytec Games with Windlands and Windlands 2. Just a reminder of the show times. It's live streamed every other Saturday now on YouTube and Twitch. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 10 a.m. Pacific time. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the show and subscribe to our channel for all our future shows. So let's see if there's anyone in the chat that wants to ask us anything. If not, we'll say goodbye. I'm surprised, actually, because we had so much to talk about this week that we actually breezed through it. And maybe that's because Nathy wasn't here.
It's pretty much just Nathan's fault. Yeah. Hey, you cut a man out of the show. Of course, it's going to run shorter, So
cut Nathy out of the show. We actually finished on time. It would have been a 3-hour show with him here. So
I think so.
Just saying.
I think so.
We miss you, but we get through the show very quickly without you, Nathy.
I wanted to pick this up. Happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday.
VGA Port Authority. I want a pirate-themed game in VR. I love that setting, especially around Christmas time. I wish we had Sea of Thieves VR. That's what I want. I want that so badly.
Or even better, for me at least, Assassin's Creed Black Flag in VR.
Oh. Yeah, good shout.
Well,
good shout.
Maybe we'll get our. Maybe that's what they're developing. Eh?
It's funny because you guys mentioned a mod that I got really excited about on the last show, and that was, is it Space Rock Galactic?
Oh,
Deep Rock Galactic.
Deep Rock Galactic, the one with the little dwarves. Yeah, that looks freaking awesome. That looks freaking awesome.
It does look good.
Yeah.
And that was like another thing we could do, right? We could totally do that.
So they although they're not pirates, well, they're kind of space pirates, and they do have beards, kind of piratey. So just saying.
The closest thing that you can actually get to space pirates, if you want pirate themed. If you like pirate themed, i.e. ocean, you're screwed. But From Other Suns is the best space pirate game that's out there. It's on the Oculus platform.
How that game is not on Quest, I do not know.
It needs to be on Quest. Absolutely.
It does need to be on Quest.
And Gunfire Games, if you don't know of them, they do excellent games. And this game, you'll love it. There's a lot of game there for you. You won't beat it in your first run, and expect to put a lot of hours in to be able to beat it.
Good suggestion from the chat, actually. Serpo asks, have we tried GTFO mod yet?
Oh, not together. We should.
We haven't tried it together. I've tried it very briefly, but it was very early days of the mod, and from all I've heard, it's got much better since then.
Exactly.
So maybe that's something we should revisit as a team, actually, and try that out.
That's a great. Okay, excellent. We're just going to plan all of our shows from here until
GTFO.
Christmas.
Yeah. You can guess what that stands for.
Yeah. Get the F.Reality out.
There we go. What a way to end the show. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks where we'll be back with more VR news. But until then, have a great couple of weeks in VR. Take care of yourselves, and bye-bye for now. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.